It was past midnight when Arisha finally fell asleep. She had spent the entire evening scrolling through her phone, trying to distract herself from the uneasy feeling that had been gnawing at her all day. Her apartment was quiet, too quiet. The usual hum of the refrigerator, the distant sounds of traffic outside, even the creaks of the buildings settling. Everything had stopped. It was as though the world had paused. She rolled over in bed, the sheets cool against her skin, and pulled the blanket up to her chin. That's when she heard it, a faint whisper. So soft she thought she had imagined it. Arisha. Her eyes snapped open. She scanned the room, heart pounding. The lamp by the bedside was off, casting shadows in every corner. Nothing moved. She laughed nervously at herself. "Just your imagination," she whispered, though the sound trembled. But then she heard it again. This time, a little clearer. "Arisha, look at me." Her breath hitched. The sound seemed to come from below. She froze. The bed was empty, except for her. She bent forward, staring at the floor. That's when she realized the whispers weren't coming from the room. They were coming from under the bed. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice caught in her throat. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, repeating her name over and over. She could feel them vibrating through the floor, through her feet. They weren't human, she realized immediately. They were darker, older, full of malice. Her phone was on the nightstand. She reached for it, hoping to call someone, anyone. But the screen stayed black. No signal. The lamp wouldn't turn on. Darkness pressed in on her, thick and suffocating. She had no choice but to look. Slowly trembling, she leaned forward and peered under the bed. Nothing. Just darkness. But then she saw movement. Shapes, faint, twisted shadows, wriggling slowly, almost in rhythm with the whispers. "Come play! Come, play!" Her stomach dropped. Panic surged. She scrambled backward, hitting the wall. The whispers grew louder, now a chorus of voices, overlapping and speaking faster. They were calling her name, mocking her, pleading at the same time. She tried to leave the room, but her legs wouldn't move properly. Something heavy seemed to press against them, as if invisible hands were holding her down. The shadows under the bed shifted, and suddenly a hand emerged. Thin, pale claws digging into the floorboards, reaching for her. She screamed, finally breaking free, and leaped off the bed. The hand vanished, but the whispers continued, louder, circling the room, coming from every shadow, every crack in the floor, every corner of the ceiling.
I don't know what we're gonna do, honestly.
She grabbed a flashlight from her drawer, hands shaking violently. The beam cut across the room, illuminating nothing. But the moment it passed over the floor, she saw them. Dozens of pale, twisted faces pressed against the underside of the bed. Their mouths moved, whispering her name, eyes hollow and black, staring directly at her. Arisha stumbled backward. The bed seemed to shudder, rising slightly as if it were alive. The faces beneath twisted, mouths opening impossibly wide, voices screaming at her from under the wood. She tried to shut her eyes, tried to block it out, but even with her eyelids closed, she could hear the whispers in her head crawling into her skull. "Arisha, we've been waiting for so long." Her chest burned with panic. The voices were inside her now, inside her head, repeating, overlapping, crawling. She clawed at her hair, trying to block them out, but they were everywhere. The bed began to shake violently, legs scraping the floor. The shadows beneath pressed upward, trying to reach her. She grabbed a chair and swung it, smashing it against the bed frame. The bed lurched, but the whispers didn't stop. In fact, they grew stronger, more insistent. She ran to the door, yanking it open, but the hallway beyond was twisted, longer than it should be, darker, unfamiliar. The apartment seemed to stretch, bend, become a labyrinth. And everywhere she turned, shadows scuttled along the edges of her vision, always just out of reach, whispering her name. Desperate, she grabbed a broom, leaning it under the bed, trying to push whatever it was away, but the shadows recoiled and surged, and she felt something brush against her ankle. Cold, wet, and impossibly heavy. She looked down. Nothing. But the whispers screamed louder. "Don't run! Stay!" Her breathing was ragged, heart hammering. She backed into the living room, but the whispers followed, echoing through the walls, crawling along the floor. They weren't just under the bed anymore. They were everywhere, surrounding her, pressing, suffocating, calling her name over and over. She tripped over the couch and fell. And then she saw it, a hand, pale and thin, emerging from the wall this time, not just under the bed.
We have to leave right
More
now before it's too late.
Did you hear?
hands followed, reaching from the floorboards, the ceiling, the shadows. Their faces formed in the darkness, hollow eyes staring, mouths moving in silent whispers that somehow reached her mind. The apartment was no longer her home. It had become a cage, alive with voices, waiting, hungry. She could feel them crawling beneath her skin, into her bones. They wanted her. They needed her. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no meaning anymore. Every attempt to escape failed. Every wall she reached twisted into another corridor, another hallway, another room, filled with whispering faces. The shadows pressed, always reaching. Finally, she crawled back to the bedroom, heart pounding, despair choking her. She looked under the bed one last time. The shadows waited, their mouths opened impossibly wide. "Now," they whispered, in unison, a scream of 1,000 voices compressed into one. The bed surged upward. The shadows lunged. She screamed, clawing, fighting, but the darkness swallowed her whole. The next morning, her apartment was silent. Neighbors noticed the door ajar. Inside, the room was empty. The bed was perfectly made. Everything seemed normal, as if nothing had happened. But anyone brave enough to peek under that bed would hear them. Soft, faint whispers calling a name. Sometimes just one. Arisha. And if you listen closely, at night, when the lights are out, the voices are still there, waiting, patient, hungry. Because once they call your me from under the bed, they never let go.